Hello, and welcome to the Reselling Report for today, Thursday, May 14th, 2020. I'm your host, Ann Eckhart, and every weekday morning I upload the Reselling Report here to YouTube to update you on the day's retail and e-commerce news, including the latest from eBay, Amazon, Etsy, and Poshmark. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll subscribe. And now let's get on with today's show. Well, we've made it to Thursday. Welcome to the second to last show before the weekend. I do want to make a quick correction to yesterday's show when I was discussing the reporter who appeared on air without pants on. I incorrectly said that was John Ritter's son. It was Christopher Reeve's son. Christopher Reeves, former Superman actor who had passed away. He suffered an accident falling off a horse, was paralyzed, and eventually did pass away. It is his adult son who was the reporter who was doing a live on-air news feed from home, and the webcam caught that he was not wearing pants. So wanted to make that correction. Thank you to the viewer who pointed that out. So now let's get on with today's reselling news. Before I jump into the news from the reselling sites themselves, I do want to talk a little bit about general retail and economic news. And this is a story I've been seeing on a number of different sites. The one I'm going to reference today is on CNN Business. But again, this is something a lot of news organizations have been reporting. But this post is titled, "New Threat to the Economy. Americans are saving like it's the 1980s. The story reads, Americans are slashing their spending, hoarding cash, and shrinking their credit card debt as they fear their jobs could disappear during the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. credit card debt suddenly reversed course in March and fell by the largest percentage in more than 30 years. At the same time, savings rates climbed to levels unseen since Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The dramatic shifts in consumer behavior reflect the unprecedented turmoil in the U.S. economy caused by the pandemic. Although caution is a logical response to the uncertainty, hunkering down also poses a risk to the recovery in an economy dominated by consumer spending. A so-called V-shaped recovery can't happen if consumers are sitting on the sidelines. More than 33 million Americans have filed for initial unemployment claims since mid-March, and economists warn the jobs market won't return to pre-crisis levels for years. Consumers are very cautious, said Russell Price, chief economist at Ameriprise Financial. We're right in the middle of the storm. Uncertainty and fear. The unemployment rate soared to 14.7% in April, the most severe unemployment crisis since the Great Depression, and Americans are bracing for more challenging times ahead. The perceived probability of losing one's job over the next 12 months soared to nearly 21% in April, according to the New York Federal Reserve survey released on Monday. It was the second straight month of a record high for this metric in the survey, which the New York Fed launched in 2013. Workers are also worried about how they'll land another job if they lose theirs. The perceived probability of finding a job in the next 3 months tumbled 6.1 percent points to 47% in April, the largest monthly decline ever recorded. The survey described considerable deteriorations in household expectations, including record low for expected earnings, income, and spending growth. We know that COVID has not gone away, said Danielle Booth, CEO and Chief Strategist at Quill Intelligence. That is going to keep in place an element of uncertainty and fear and hold back consumers' ability or desire to spend. Now, the article does go on to talk about customers paying off debt, putting more into savings. The general theme, however, is that people will be spending less money, especially on non-essentials. To go with that, there's an article over on CNBC.com titled, "Shoppers Begin to Shift from Stockpiling to Penny Pinching at the Grocery Store." This article highlights that grocery shoppers' purchasing behaviors may be changing because of the high unemployment and economic uncertainty. In recent weeks, U.S. shoppers are buying more of stores' private labels than usual, spending less across popular convenience store categories, and making more trips to dollar stores. Shopping behaviors may look different this economic downturn, though, since people are juggling health concerns along with budget consciousness. So both of these articles just point to what I think a lot of us who are resellers or retail in general, what are people going to be buying? If they're going to be buying, what the future looks like in terms of what we're going to be selling and the prices that we're going to be selling them for. During economic downturns, people go to discount sites. Like the story says, they're at the dollar store more. They're going to come to eBay more. eBay is known as the deal site. So people are going to be turning more to eBay. So for those of us who sell on eBay, that's not a bad thing. In times of economic downturns, we've all said this before, that's usually when reselling does its best because people are looking to stretch their dollar further. They still want to shop, they still want to get things, but they're going to be going for those deals. So it is just interesting that both articles say the coronavirus is not going anywhere until there's a vaccine, and that could be up to 2 years. Some experts are saying we may never get a vaccine. We may just have to develop herd immunity. I mean, the news changes every minute. But for those of us in retail, and especially in reselling, what we source and how we price it is really going to be key going forward. So I personally believe looking for the very best deals more than ever is the utmost important. You want to pay as little as possible for your inventory because your profit margins might tighten up a bit. Now, of course, there's always going to be the people who have excess money, but even them, even those people, when they're looking around and seeing everyone else kind of hunker down with their cash, they can start to pull back as well. So yeah, keep your cost of goods low. That's what I always say, but it's definitely more important than ever in the current climate. Turning to the reselling sites themselves, we're going to start with eBay. There's a new post over on the e-commerce sites blog that's titled eBay Scrambles to Get Payments Ready for July. The article reads, eBay is scrambling to get managed payments ready for prime time before it scales the program in mid-July, and some sellers are panicking because of the lack of some key information that will impact their sales, namely category exclusions and fees. These aren't little issues. Sellers in categories like bullion? What's bullion? I think that's coins, right? Are panicked that the program excludes the products they list on eBay. They're forwarding to a link to a May 9th YouTube video posted by a vlogger known as the Auction Professors, who said sellers like him may be out of business when they're forced into managed payments due to the category exclusion, and he's got some sellers riled up. In February, eBay executives Marnie Levine and Jordan Sweetnam discussed the managed payment fee issues and category exclusions during a town hall meeting. Sweetnam offered assurances that managed payment category exclusions would not be permanent, pointing to regulations that were holding eBay up. As e-commerce sites reported at the time, Marnie Levine, Vice President of Seller Operations and Engagement for eBay Americas, addressed questions about managed payments category exclusions, saying they would all be included, though she didn't say how long it would take. This will 100% be rolled out over time, so anything that's not included currently will be included. Sweetman agreed, saying there were a lot of regulations, but eBay was working on all the payment requirements. These categories, cross-border scenarios. It all takes time, but there's no incentive or reason for eBay not to support them, he said. But do these reassurances still apply today? It's stunning to realize that sometime between February 25th and May 7th, eBay decided to radically change the managed payments fee structure, and equally stunning that it has yet to publicly post the results. Despite sellers' current concerns, 2 eBay executives who addressed managed payments this week failed to discuss the new payments fee structure or address the ongoing category exclusions. eBay published a post today focused on the benefits of managed payments, and in her Monday seller check-in video, Marnie Levine did address why some sellers have not yet been notified that they would be enrolled in the program in July, and it's because eBay continues to build certain capabilities such as the charity program. In other words, nearly 5 years after splitting from PayPal and 2 months before eBay scales the program, it's missing some functionality. The CEO, who took over in 2015 after the split with PayPal and decided to move to managed payments, told Wall Street analysts in 2018 that the rollout would be like the Big Bang, and said eBay would not hold people's hands and beg them to move over. His permanent replacement hasn't been on the job long, but he may want to take a look at the way eBay is communicating with sellers about the imminent change to how payments are processed on the marketplace. Sellers should know what they're in for, both the benefits and the blemishes. And of course, there are some comments on this post. Now, this post will be linked in the show notes below the video if you want to go over and read through the comments. But this is what all of us are worried about moving to managed payments. It's not that we're against managed payments, right? people being able to go onto eBay and just pay directly with their credit card is a lot easier than PayPal. And sites like Etsy and Amazon and Poshmark handle buyers paying directly through the sites perfectly, and sellers get paid. Some sellers on some sites, you can withdraw your money every day. Others, like Amazon, you get it every 2 weeks, but everybody knows what they're in for. With eBay and managed payments, we're all going in blind, not sure what's going to be included, not sure how we're going to get our money, how we're going to pay for labels. There's so little that they won't tell you until you're actually enrolled in managed payments. But if they would just tell us now, I think a lot of us would be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Here's how I'm going to get paid. Here's how shipping's going to work. I'm going to opt in, and here we go. But they continue to hold back. So I did get the email that I'm going to be put in July. I just got it this past week, but I still haven't done the register your business early thing because I just don't know what I'm in for. So I don't know. This seems to be the biggest topic that's going on with eBay right now. So we'll definitely be talking about it on the show as more information comes to light. Turning now to Amazon, there is an article on CNBC.com that's titled, Amazon made several moves that signal shipping times are returning to normal after weeks of delay. The key points in the article are that Amazon informed sellers on Saturday it will no longer restrict new product shipments by quantity. The company has also restored some services to its website, such as the featured deals section, coupons, and the frequently bought together widget on product pages, which were removed in an effort to prevent additional purchases as Amazon experienced a huge spike in demand. These are the latest signs that Amazon warehouses may be returning to normal and that delivery times are improving. So good news for not only Amazon shoppers, but also Amazon sellers. Hopefully can get back to somewhat normal in terms of FBA shipments into the warehouses. And I have been noticing that my Amazon orders are starting to get here a little bit faster. That being said, I did get a couple of orders this week that I placed 2 weeks ago. For me, most of you know that I sell books on Amazon, both written under my name and then planners and journals and notebooks that I publish under Jean Lee Publishing pen name. The way that works is I upload my book files to Amazon, and then when somebody orders a book, they print it. And it doesn't show up for me as a sale until it's printed. And my sales have been down about 40%. And I do believe it's because of the shipping delays. And some people get the note that, well, okay, if you order this, it won't ship for 2 weeks, and they're canceling, or else they just haven't shipped yet and it's not showing up. So I hope for those of us who do sell on Amazon, whether FBA, merchant fulfilled, or through Kindle Direct Publishing, that things are going to get back to normal here fast. We've been talking a lot on the show about how Etsy has seen a surge in traffic and sales, specifically for their sellers who make their items. There's a new article on adweek.com that's titled, Etsy's surge in traffic offers a glimmer of hope for struggling small businesses as shoppers are seeking out other alternatives for essential items. Etsy data shows people are looking for essentials and also items to keep them preoccupied while at home. So we've already heard about things like flour and sourdough starters selling really well as crafts and games for children to do and families to do at home. Frustration with store shortages has created an opportunity for small producers to fill the gaps. And of course, we know that Etsy has been pushing the face masks very heavily. So again, this article will be linked below. It basically goes over everything we've already been talking about here on the show with interviews with the Etsy CEO. Face masks are doing really well, and the other essential items that are selling quite nicely over on Etsy. Now, this community, reseller community, I guess, focuses more on people who source secondhand items to resell on Etsy. So for those items, definitely home decor, items are selling really well. I don't know about just basic collectibles. You can let me know if you sell on Etsy, if you're a jewelry seller or a collectible seller, how sales in those categories have been going for you. But definitely if you make items, if you're a crafter, a DIYer, then I hope that sales are going well for you. It definitely sounds like they are. Etsy is doing quite well during the coronavirus pandemic. Earlier this week, we talked about the teenager over on TikTok who called out Poshmark, and the story has now made BuzzFeed News in an article titled, "A Teen Claims Her Chanel Bag on Poshmark Was Never Returned." Poshmark said it had no idea what happened, but it's a closed case. The article reads, a 19-year-old from Los Angeles resorted to making a TikTok after, according to her, a $1,150 Chanel bag she tried to sell on Poshmark was returned to her without the bag in it. Seller Olivia Broberg told BuzzFeed News that she had an awful experience working with the company, and she still has no idea what happened. Poshmark told BuzzFeed News that the case has been closed after it finally issued Broberg a full refund, but that the bag remains missing. Here's what we know so far. Last week, Broberg posted the video, which has gone viral on the app. In it, she says she filed multiple claims with Poshmark after discovering her Chanel bag was not in the return box. The buyer was apparently not satisfied with the quality of the item when they received it and initiated return a few weeks ago. After notifying Poshmark about the mishap, according to emails Broberg provided, the company responded on May 6th, saying it believed she had filed a fraudulent claim and suspended her account. A company representative initially told Broberg that they had opened an investigation into her case and believed the correct item was shipped back to her. Therefore, we have closed your claim and suspended your account, the support team representative wrote. We consider making false claims fraudulent and do not condone it. Broberg told BuzzFeed News she was distressed by this response. She thought she had lost over $1,000 in the sale in addition to her red mini Chanel handbag. She was and still is sure it was stolen. There was no bag in the box, so it was very clear my stuff had been stolen. I can't be sure if it was the buyer or someone at Poshmark because it's gone through so many stops along the way, but I got super angry. She then filed another complaint to the company about the suspension of her account and the still missing purse. She also contacted the buyer with claims that they had scammed her out of the purchase. The buyer, though, insisted they had shipped the bag to her. On the same day, May 6th, Broberg got another email from the same representative who stated that, after an investigation, there is not enough evidence to support your claim. The email continued, you may file a police report with your local police department regarding this experience. The representative further suggested that she reach out to the USPS's inspection services and that Poshmark would be willing to cooperate if she opened a case. The company did, however, lift Broberg's account suspension, but the teen felt that it was not enough and that the company was trying to silence her. They were trying to make me go through this extremely lengthy process. They were trying to bury me in bureaucracy, she told BuzzFeed News. They were just going to silence me and side with the buyer. Broberg said that she felt she didn't have any more options, so she made the TikTok late last week. A day later, she was contacted on TikTok via direct message from the company saying it would refund her. A spokesperson for Poshmark told BuzzFeed News that the company had obtained shipment proof from the buyer that the box was sent out, and that's how it came to a conclusion with the information it initially had. We always aim to resolve issues to ensure our community has a great experience on Poshmark and apologize for falling short on this case. Our community comes first at Poshmark, and we've worked with both the seller and the buyer involved in the issue and reached a positive outcome for all parties. Unfortunately, it appears the seller and buyer do not quite feel they've reached a positive outcome. When reached, the buyer was adamant to BuzzFeed News that they do not have the bag and that they had supplied as much evidence as they could that it was properly returned on their end. They added that they had returned the bag because there was a scratch on it, which Broberg denies. This buyer would wish to remain anonymous because they've been receiving harassment from online sleuths after the TikTok went viral. I do not have the bag. I provided Olivia with evidence of the bag being boxed, packed, and scanned at USPS immediately after receiving her slanderous email, the buyer said. In fact, the buyer is now alleging that Broberg is not telling the truth. I do not have her bag, and basing off facts alone because I suspect she was irritated with the return, I was under the impression she replaced the roll of tape herself, and Poshmark still decided to believe her and work with her. But Broberg insisted that she does not have the Chanel bag. Both she and the buyer posed the possibility that it could have been intercepted at Poshmark's offices. However, while the company policy requires designer purchases to be verified upon sending out, they do not check about return. The company spokesman told BuzzFeed News that the bag is not at Poshmark and that the return shipment did not make a stop back at their headquarters before it got to Broberg. We don't know where it is. We have proof the box was delivered. Unfortunately, we don't have proof of what the buyer received or what the buyer sent, so it's a case closed situation. When asked how the company could come to a closed case status if the bag remains missing, the spokesperson says its choices are limited with the lack of information. So, yikes. It goes on a little bit more. Again, this story will be linked in the show notes below the video if you want to read the whole thing. But, when you've got people selling to other people through a third-party app, somebody's got to take responsibility when something goes wrong. Now, with eBay, they're usually going to side with the buyer. Poshmark, their policies are all over the place, up in the air, or they don't have any policies. This is why I stay away from selling high-end designer items directly to other buyers. I know a lot of people will utilize third-party sites such as ThredUp Luxe or The RealReal to sell their luxury goods. That's probably a better option than selling things over $1,000, unless you're going to insure the package. That's one way to protect yourself. Require signature confirmation. That's another. But I don't know that Poshmark offers those options to sellers. I don't know that you can print a label and require signature confirmation the way you can on eBay, or add additional insurance the way you can on eBay. So anyway, that is an update to the Chanel bag TikTok Poshmark drama. And that's a wrap on today's show. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment, even if it's just to say hello or pop up an emoji, as that engagement really does help with YouTube's algorithm. And you guys have been doing it. Thank you so much. Also, check out the show notes below the video for links to the articles I referenced. You can email me your questions or reseller horror or funny stories. My email is also below. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.